It started off a good day, and then literally out of nowhere, we got rugged. That's right, the Fed has rugged us once again, and it's a pretty disgusting sign of the times that effectively the Federal Reserve is looking to deflate this wild overheated economy that we are currently participating in. So we're gonna bring you through exactly everything that happened, and then I'm gonna give you my breakdown as to what I'm doing to prepare for this at the end of the episode. If you're investing in any markets right now, crypto, stock market, pretty much anything that trades against USD, maybe not things that trade against ETH, but we'll talk about that at the end. This is a video you have to watch. Let's figure out what happened. All right, so everybody knew that today Jerome Powell and the Fed were going to have another meeting and give an updated view on what they were going to do to address inflation, what they were going to do with interest rates. All of these things change very often because since the last time we heard from them, a lot has gone down. The market has tumbled. We're all very, very poor. So we need to understand, was this enough? Did Jerome Powell achieve his goal? And now he's going to be looking to kind of keep things stable. Are we underheated enough to resume business as normal? And we got that answer today, but it was a little confusing because the minutes came out first. What we're looking at here is the actual YouTube video of this live conference. Now, while we were waiting for this to happen, they released a prepared statement that went over their views, which essentially was business as usual, nothing has changed. But then we got into this press conference here, and as I will show you throughout this press conference with Jerome Powell, every response to every question got increasingly more and more what we call hawkish. Now, hawkish means that they're being very aggressive, and aggressive is not what we want right now. The alternative would be dovish. Dovish would mean kumbaya, keep pumping the markets, everything is good. But what we got was actually a hawkish Jerome Powell, and I'll bring you through a couple of the statements that were most important throughout this particular press conference so you can hear it directly what Jerome Powell said that effectively created this pump and dump on the charts. So this is Bitcoin, and right after the minutes came out, we got this massive pump. In fact, most people looked at the minutes as pretty bullish, myself included, because I tweeted Pamp it. This was right as the minutes were released, and we could assume, okay, Jay Powell is going to come out with some very nice, even-handed type of delivery that's going to let us keep growing as a market. There's not going to be any bearish curveballs here. But then he came out and started talking on the press conference, and we got this absolute destruction to the point where we're actually down from the day instead of actually pretty massively up. Starting the day here at 36,000 or so and ending it over 40 would have been a major, major W. But instead, we got this massive decline. So what caused this and what does it mean for the future? Let's hear it straight from Jerome Powell, and we'll talk about my strategy, positioning around this now that we're seeing how these market dumps are affecting his policy changes or not affecting them.
And I also wonder if you could talk a little bit about the pathway to getting to that deceleration. Like how do we get from here, 7% CPI, to where you expect to be at the end of the year?
So this question is the one where Jerome starts to bring out the fangs here. He's kind of been, going back and forth politically saying, hey, look, we want to reduce prices. We want to reduce prices. We're going to use, lots of political doublespeak, lots of big words. This is where he starts to get a little real here. And this is exactly where the market totally took a turn.
So I'd say, since the December meeting, I would say that the inflation situation is about the same, but probably slightly worse. I'd be inclined to raise my own estimate of 2022 core PCE inflation. Let's just go with that by a few tenths today. But we're not.
Okay. So listen. Before, we were thinking after this collapse, after the market has come down so significantly, Apple's, Netflix stock plummeting, Peloton plummeting, crypto plummeting, we're thinking, all right, well, we've probably taken some significant heat out of the economy, and maybe we're going to be looking to control prices with these predictable Fed interest rate hikes. But now he's saying that even since December, he thinks the situation's gotten worse, not better. So since December, when we've all been made intergalactically poor, here, Jerome Powell thinks the job isn't done. So this is what really sent the market into a frenzy today. And so let's listen to how he finishes this, and then we'll wrap this up.
Writing down an SEP at this meeting, but I think it hasn't gotten better. It's probably gotten just a bit worse, and that's been the pattern. So I think if you look at the FOMC participants, there's a range there. And that range has been moving to the right for a year now. And by the way, if you look at other forecasters, essentially all other macro forecasters who do this for a living, you've seen the same pattern. So what do we think about that? Well, I think we wrote down rate increases in the December meetings, each of us individually. And I think to the extent the situation deteriorates further, our policy will have to address that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. What a big news day it was today. We had the Fed come out and say, hey, we're not raising interest rates anytime soon. Now, they did leave the door open that they could potentially do it this year, but it was good news. And it's along the lines of what we've been talking about. If they were to raise rates too fast or come out aggressive, it could send the stock market in a spiral downtrend, which would affect the economy, and they would have bigger problems than inflation. So I want to talk about that, also talk about Bitcoin's timeline with the retracement and alt season. And speaking of alts, we have huge Ripple XRP news. Ripple did a buyback out of a Series C funding they did in 2019 from Tetragon. Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, was interviewed. He had some bullish statements around what he's seeing for 2022, the SEC lawsuit, Ripple's plans for an IPO, and so forth. And there's some huge adoption news with the with the XRP ledger that I want to share with you guys. Also, very bullish statements coming from Vladimir Putin out of Russia. He's saying that Russia has an advantage with crypto mining. He wants the finance ministry and the central bank to get it together and get crypto regulations going. We've been talking about this, so I like what I'm hearing. There's huge news coming out of Turkey. We have a bank that is adopting crypto. We have a stock exchange that's being built and will be powered by Bitcoin and crypto. It's massively bullish news I want to break down for you guys. So before we get to it, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment below, and hit the subscribe button. If you're new here, it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. If you're listening on a podcast site, please give me a 5-star rating. Guys, earlier today, I uploaded my interview with Hong Fang, CEO of OKCoin Crypto Exchange. Guys, she left her job at Goldman Sachs and the traditional financial market to come work in crypto. And that is so analogous of what's happening right now. We're seeing the mass exodus, right? We've been covering the news, people leaving traditional tech jobs, traditional financial market jobs, and coming into crypto. So be sure to check out that interview. I'll put a link in the description. Now, this content is brought to you by Algorand, which is building the future of finance. Algorand is one of the leading blockchain projects in the crypto industry. They're getting significant adoption and investment. And I personally hold the Algo token, and it's really one of the reasons why I selected them to be a sponsor of the channel. I'm very bullish on this project. So if you would like to learn more about Algorand, please visit algorand.com. Now, if we look at the crypto market right now, Bitcoin was over $38,000 this morning. It's cooling down a bit right now. It's at $36,783. All coins are not doing anything. All coins are waiting for Bitcoin's move, right? If we look at the Bitcoin daily chart here, certainly Bitcoin is in a price discovery mode to find the bottom. And that bottom could be 30,000, 32,000, 35,000. I don't know. We have to see what happens here. Nevertheless, it's going through its cycle, and we could see another pullback downwards to the 32 range or $30,000 range before we head into the retracement of Bitcoin moving back upwards, going to maybe between 55 to 58K. At which point I told you guys I will be taking some profits at that point, and I'll be waiting for alt season to start after that. So it's just a waiting game right now. Bitcoin's just going to have to do its thing, find that double bottom, so to speak, the double tapping the bottom, and then we have the retracement to move up, back up. Now, as always, this is not guaranteed, right? This is not financial or investment advice, because we could have a black swan event happening. Look, I don't know, some war with Russia and Ukraine, look, the pandemic, this virus situation, all these things are looming in the background. I'm hoping they don't happen, but I'm also, once again, you can't 100% with 100% certainty say this is exactly what's going to happen. You have to open your mind up to different scenarios and possibilities and look at the likelihood of which scenario is going to play out. So I think this is what's going to happen. And, we got some good news from the Fed that they're not raising rates. They're going to keep it as is. They did leave the door open that they could potentially do it, look, next month or March or later this year. We don't know. But at this point, they're not doing it. And we saw the markets crashed hard. They went down very fast, I think anticipating and pricing in the potential rate hike. So I think the Fed pumped the brakes there. They were like, okay, we're not going to do anything, because as we've been talking about, stocks and a lot of the other assets are so tied to the economy because of quantitative easing on steroids and the buying that the Fed has been doing, buying bonds and all securities and all these things. It's so tied to the economy. If they go too aggressive, they become too hawkish, they will hurt the economy. They're going to have bigger problems than inflation. And remember what we've been talking about. This is an election year. And I'm sure you look, Biden's president, he's a Democrat. A lot of Democrats, they're going to be in trouble, especially if they take a hard stance on crypto. But if the economy's in a bad place, what are people going to do? Go to the other side, right? So that's how we've seen this game played for a very long time. So when you keep these things in the back of your mind, you can then get an idea how the market might go. Now, this is not a perfect science, but obviously, if history is any indication of how things move, we can certainly be a bit confident about it. But things can happen. Black swan events can happen and so forth. So good news there. All right, let's jump into some Ripple news. It's just big. Brad Garlinghouse tweeted out the following last night. Excited to announce Ripple bought back our Series C December 2019 shares at a $15 billion valuation. In 2022, slowdown is not in our vocabulary, even with 2021's headwinds. It was our best year on record, and Ripple's financial position, $1 billion in the bank, strongest ever been. Wow. One would not think this would be the case because of the SEC lawsuit, but as I've stated many times, Ripple is a global company and they're getting adoption globally. They're not just reliant on the US market. Now, they would love for this lawsuit to be done with so that they can get things going in the United States, but they're getting a business around the globe. They've got locations in other countries. So things are progressing. He continues saying RippleNet is much more than cross-border payments. It's bringing crypto native services such as liquidity to enterprises. Today, the network has a volume run rate of greater than $10 billion. Huge props to the team for continuously upping their game and leaning into capabilities every year. Finally, he says here, Ripple X full speed ahead on establishing a multitude of capabilities to the XRP ledger, including NFTs, CBDCs, interoperability bridges, side chains, and so much more, working hand in hand with devs and partners around the world. It's a multi-chain world after all. And he put a smiley face there.